So what many people may not factor is that with holiday home, you mitigate the risk of having bounce checks as compared to the long-term tenants. So when you rent out your property in Dubai on 4 checks or 6 checks, or even 2 checks, sometimes tenants go through certain circumstances, especially if there's an economy downturn where they lose jobs, and you may end up having a bounce check. And of course, I think, I'm not sure, but I think bounce checks are no longer even criminal in Dubai. So if you have a bounce check as a landlord, you have to go get a bank report and then go open a police case and then go through the entire process of actually chasing the tenant. And if the tenant doesn't pay, you cannot even, if the tenant, say, for example, left the country, you cannot even just go and open the apartment by yourself. You have to get a court order or an order from Dubai municipality in order for you to go and open your own apartment where the tenant has abandoned the apartment a month or more prior to this date. Now with holiday homes, you definitely mitigate this risk because people have to pay prior to checking in. And this is one of the things that people miss to factor. The other important point is that with holiday homes, people think that there's so much footfall as compared to long term. But I think it's the opposite. I think with holiday home, the property has to be extremely well maintained at all times. So before every check-in, the property has to be very, very well maintained, clean and neat. As compared to long term, you may be lucky and having an amazing tenant who's extremely tidy and maybe OCD, or you may end up with the opposite. You may end up with a long-term tenant who doesn't really care, or who's messy, or he doesn't really care about the status of the property he's living in. So these 2 points that I think very valid for people to factor when they're contemplating and weighing their options between renting out their apartments as a holiday home or on long term.